I would vote for Thanos before I would vote for any of these people. You can really unfurl the lunacy of leftism really easily because, you know, if they had a consistent set of views, so you can say what you want about the right, but the right basically, and certainly in this room, what does the right care about? The individual. That every single one of us should have individual rights that are exactly the same, regardless of the color of your skin or your gender or any of those things. I can't look at any, I mean, think how depressingly twisted it would be if I looked at any of you and I was like, oh, she's black, so she must think this, or he's gay, so he must think this, or something like that. But yet that is what the left is doing, and that's so ironic right now, because if you really believe, as so many of the progressives do, that Trump is Hitler and evil and all of those things, well, the answer isn't it's just to get our guy to be in that position of power. The answer is let's take the power away from that office, which is how it was supposed to be set up in the first place. Yeah.
So if you were a betting man, you'd put your money...
Oh, so I didn't answer the question. How about that? That's a professional
trying to
move for you guys. You just talk long enough so that they forget what the question was. Obama used to do that all the time. Do you remember the Obama press conferences? That way they would be like, Mr. President, you know, what's the temperature outside? Like 6 hours later, like it was, okay. If I was a betting person, I think it's probably going to be Elizabeth Warren. I almost see sort of but I could say anything. You'd boo any of them. I mean, they're all terrible. They're horrible. I mean, even, did you watch this climate change summit? The amount of lunacy. Bernie was literally demanding that we offer free abortions to people in South America to stop climate change. I mean, that's how, I'm not making that up. I am not making that up. There used to be some American program where we would offer abortion services in other countries, which, what does that have to do with, shouldn't we be doing things in our country, or forget abortion specifically? But he literally was bringing that up, that if we don't reenact this policy, that you know, I mean, he's Thanos, basically. I would vote for Thanos before I would vote for any of these people. So I think Elizabeth Warren probably, I think the most beautiful part of watching it all unfold will be the way that they have to destroy Bernie, because Bernie, he has to be destroyed. He's an old white man at the end. And at the end, that is how they will judge him, and they will take him out, because that's how the game is played. And if you remember in the last go-round with this, you remember that moment where Bernie was on stage and the Black Lives Matter activist grabbed the mic out of his hand, and he just moved over and stood there like a little bitch. And I'm okay on the language, right? We're good? Yeah. But there's a reason he did it. It wasn't because it was what he believed he should do. It was because by the intersectional game that the progressives have created, he knew if he grabbed the mic back at his own event from Black Lives Matter activists, they were going to say he was racist and destroy him. So they are just buying their time to take out Bernie at some point. And Elizabeth Warren will have to do it. And then I think it sets up, you know, then there's a woman running against Trump. I mean, it just gets this all to the zenith of lunacy.
Let me ask you about one of the things that I always see as a debate or a discussion is the idea of educating, or maybe focusing more on some of the cultural things versus the political arena. I think you coming through, you know, the comedian side to Young Turks, and obviously now this transformation, and having your own platform, being a personality, do you think that you have changed your mind on this? Do you think that there is one, because my take has always been that there's got to be a balance, right? I think if you have a core set of principles, you know, you go out, you engage folks, you figure out ways to connect with them, whether it's through culture, whether it's through education, but then the political arena has just been beating the shit out of us for the past 30 years, so you can't ignore that side. Do you agree with kind of that take that there's a hybrid, or do you think we need to be, we're failing in one section and we're gaining in another? What's kind of your...
Well, as I referenced earlier with MLK and Malcolm X, whatever the movement is, whatever you care about is, there's many ways to skin a cat, right? And I think you need people that can purely deal with things at the idea level, right, that can really lay out simple principles. So I try, when I have somebody like, let's say, Jordan Peterson on, who's talking about Nietzsche and Dostoevsky and some seriously high-level stuff, I think one of the things I'm good at is distilling some of that so that the average person who maybe can't read all of these things or take all of this in can digest it and hopefully find a path where they can, you know, find out more if that's what they want to do. And I think in this political atmosphere that we need people to understand, I think, the basics of the founding of the country, of the principles of individualism, understand why the Constitution was written, why they write it the way that they did, what does the Bill of Rights actually mean, all of these things. You know, understand why did they write, regardless of your feelings about religion, why did they say these were God-given rights and that it wasn't the government that was giving you those rights? These are deeply important things to understand. But if you're only going to talk about that, you're not going to get these guys. And what does get these guys is comedy, is memes, is shit posting. I mean, it's all of those things. So you need some version of all of that, and everyone plays a little bit of a different role in that. So I think the important thing, and this is what I would say about anything, you should do what you think you should do. And if you do that, and you're an idea guy and you do it well, you'll affect people. And if you do that and you're funny, you'll affect people. And whatever that means to you, you got to hit it on many fronts. But this is where, you know, I mean, I always tell you, it's like, I love coming to these YAL things because for whatever little differences we have, it's utter, I know none of you actually, that would never cause an irreparable problem for us. Like, I know you guys want to work through issues. If I had a difference of opinion, we could, you know, have a drink after or talk it out. I mean, we have some difference of opinion and we can battle that through. And that's what I meant before about just being a little bit better than the other guys. Because they're pretty hysterical right now. And if we just show, oh, you know what? Somebody's a little more conservative on, say, abortion than I am, and I'm a little more hardcore on low taxes or states' rights than they are. But, all right, we basically want to live in the same country. Well, now we can start expanding the tent. And the progressives are just purging people, right? That's what they're doing. They're taking good, decent liberals, like me, like Brett Weinstein, who I talked about before, or his brother Eric Weinstein. Plenty, I mean, there's a zillion people. Sam Harris, 1 million people. Actually, it's many millions of decent liberals, because decent liberals do exist, but they've been cowed into silence. So why not, as the progressives are purging all of their free thinkers, and it's not even that they're purely free thinkers, they're just somebody that might have one random other thought. While they're purging them, why not have the people, especially on the liberty side of things, really show, yeah, I'm willing to agree to disagree, and I want to live in a country where my neighbor can think something different. That sounds pretty great to me.
So I want to talk about Jordan Peterson.
Yes.
So many of you know Dave toured with Jordan, talking to, I mean, thousands of people. And what fascinates me about Jordan Peterson, I cannot stop watching the interview he did, the one that, you know, kind of went off, where I felt like every single time he would say anything, what's her name?
Kathy Newman.
Yeah, Kathy Newman would say.
So what you're saying is.
What you're saying is, and she'd fill in the blank. And to hear Jordan, who at the time when I first watched this, I didn't know who he was.
Yep.
I didn't know any of his beliefs. But to hear him say, no, I'm not saying that at all, right? And
that was a pretty decent Peterson. You see how the voice kind of frogified there? That was good.
But when he would say that, it resonated with so much of not just what I've been through, but with so many of our student activists, when it's like, you know, anything you say is just immediately paraphrased into this horrific, you know, it's just factually not correct. So I guess my question, I have a few questions about Peterson, but I want to kind of open it up to, why do you think people reacted the way they did? Let's not even say, I mean, when the mob went after him, but just, I mean, it wasn't like they went after him. I mean, he just took off. And with you being on the road with him and you kind of understanding him at a much deeper level, you know, what do you think really sparked kind of this Peterson mania of, you know, yeah, I agree with this guy, and he's just saying things I'm not used to hearing.
Yeah, well, I think you hit the nail on the head related to the Kathy Newman thing, because so many of us were dealing with that all the time, that you're just trying to lay out a simple, perhaps hard truth, and what you get in exchange is, you know, so what you're saying is, or you're a bigot or a racist, the rest of it. And there's a beautiful moment in that where he says something to the effect of, well, you don't mind offending me. Nah, that wasn't so good. All right. You know, but because he basically was saying, well, you might be, she was saying to him, you might be offending trans people or whatever. And his point was, well, you don't mind offending me. But she had, as a lefty, she has this hierarchical category of who can be offended and all that. I think that moment took off because of that, because it was just a simple example of keeping your cool, knowing what you're saying, and then really the moment where Kathy kind of couldn't speak because you could see the conflicting ideas that just sat in her head all sort of colliding into each other. So she really couldn't get out of it. And you know, the funny part is that right after that, I wonder how many of you guys know this, within hours after the clip started going viral, she was taking selfies and doing a video, I think, in her car with a coworker, talking about all the trolls that were coming after her. But then once it really caught on, next thing you know, she started playing the victim. And now, you know, well, she's getting death threats and all these things. And it's all not true, but she then realized the power of playing the victim and all that, instead of actually going into a conversation and knowing what you're talking about enough to be able to have that back and forth. If you're looking for more honest and thoughtful conversations about politics instead of nonstop yelling, check out our politics playlist. And if you want to watch full interviews on a variety of topics, watch our full episode playlist all right over here. And to get notified of all future videos, be sure to subscribe and click the notification bell.